Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!
All right, so proportions, really, proportions are just equivalent fractions. So for example, 3/4 is equal to 6/8. These are equivalent fractions. So we already know about some of the relationship here with equivalent fractions. Remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So if you multiply the bottom by 2, you multiply the top by 2. So these are the same, these are equal amounts. These are equivalent fractions because they represent the same value, okay? So a proportion is the same thing. This is just a proportion. Now here's what's cool about a proportion. What we call the cross products are equal. So what's 6 times 4?
24.
24. What's 3 times 8? 24. They both equal 24. So the cross products or diagonal products, I would rather call them diagonal products because I don't understand, because cross could be maybe across there, across here, but that when I say cross products, I mean the diagonal products. Okay, so 6 times 4 equals 3 times 8. Okay, so think about another equivalent fraction. Let's say like 2/3. This is actually equivalent to 42 63rds. Okay, so if I multiply 3 times 42, let's see here, that's 126. 3 times 42 is 126. And then 2 times 63 is also 126. So all the cross products, anytime you have equivalent fractions, those are going to be equal. Okay. Now this helps us when we're trying to find the missing number in a proportion or the missing part of an equivalent fraction. So let's just do an example here, and we'll figure out how to do that do this in 2 ways. So 12 over 20 equals n over 30. So I want to figure out what n is. Okay. Now 20 doesn't go into 30, so we can't use the equivalent fraction method and say, okay, what times 20 equals 30? Well, technically it's like 1.5, but who wants to multiply by 1.5? So let's use our equivalent fraction method. So, or our cross products, okay? So we know that 12 times 30 has to equal 20 times n, okay? So let's first figure out what 12 times 30 is. Can you guys do that in your head? What's 12 times 3? 36. So 12 times 3t is 3060, or not really, 360, okay? So that means 360 is the cross product. So what times 20 equals 360? Well, that's just, so we just did 12 times 30, which is 360. Now we take 360 and we divide by 12. Or no, by 20. Okay, well, what's 360 divided by 2? That's 180, and then, so 360 divided by 20 is 18. Okay, so n equals 18. So this is what I call the fish method. Here's why I call it the fish method. So I'm going to multiply my two cross products. The only cross product that I can figure out right now is this one, because we don't know what n is, so we can't figure out what this cross product is. But this cross product is 30 times 12. You get 360, and then you divide by 20 to get your answer. So see the little fishy? This is why I call it the fish method. So 30 times 12 divided by 20. 30 times 12 divided by 20. And that equals 18. Okay? So let's try another one and see if you guys can figure this out. Okay. Let's try another example. Let's have you guys do it, and you can compare answers with somebody next to you if you want. But let's see if we can figure out the missing part of this proportion. A over 12 equals 6 over 8. So you can use the fish method. So remember the fish method, multiply to figure out what the cross product has to be, and then divide by the other number. So multiply the only cross product that you can right now, and then divide by the other number. So take a minute and try that.
So 8 equals what? Anybody got it?
You guys need more time? Got it? Okay, I'm going to do it. Let's see if I got the same thing you did. So the only cross product I can multiply is 12 times 6. So I'm going to multiply 12 times 6 and then divide by my other number. 12 times 6 is 72 divided by 8 equals 9. Is that what you guys got? Okay, let's try another one just for more practice. Okay, so 12 times 6.
It's really helpful to have pencil and paper out.
Oh, well, you guys should
Things in your
get
head.
pencil and paper out. All right, well, some of you may ask this question. Well, what if I go the wrong way? Does it matter? Like if I go this way, 6 times 12, that's fine. You still have to divide by that 8. So see how you still make a fish, you just make a chubby fish, okay? So 6 times 12 is still 72, divided by 8 is 9. So you don't really have to, you don't need to draw a fish. You just multiply the only cross product you can and then divide by the other number, all right? Because both of these products have to be 72. All right, let's try another one. Since you guys have your paper out now, let's try this one. 14 21st equals 6, or no, equals C over 15. So let's find C. So this might take you a minute, multiplying, dividing, but you can do it.
Say it out loud once you get it. Say the answer. Are they right?
What'd you get?
10.
You got 10? Okay, that's what I got. So here's what you're doing. You can multiply 15 times 14 and then dividing by 21. Okay, 15 times 14. Let's see. I think that's what is that? So 225 minus a 15 would be 210 divided by 21 is 10. That's right. Okay. There is another sneaky way to do this. And I'm going to show you that real quick here. If you look at 14 21st, can you reduce 14 21st? What goes into both 14 and 21? Kiara?
7.
7 divided by 7, you get 2/3. And then you got 2/3 equals C over 15, right? Well, now I can use the equivalent fraction method. 3 times 5 is 15. So 2 times 5 equals 10. So that's kind of cool. So that's usually what I do because doing the cross products works every time. You can always do the cross product, the fish method, it works every time. But you get big numbers and you have to multiply 15 times 14, which wasn't part of my multiplication chart that I memorized in 2nd grade, okay? So that's not a fun multiplication problem, but you can do it. It works every time. So what I try to do is I try to see if I can use the equivalent fraction method first because it's easier to divide first and then multiply than it is to multiply then to divide. Okay, so it's up to you, but either way, you have to end up with the same cross product. So in this situation, 3 times 10 is 30, 2 times 15 is 30 as well. So the cross products are the same. Okay. So do you guys think you can do these problems either with the fish method or equivalent fraction method? You guys think you can do it?
Yeah,
Thumbs up, thumbs down, you good? Okay. What'd you guys have for lunch? You guys seem a little lethargic.
Turkey, maybe turkey.
Yes. Tryptophan or whatever that's called. Making you sleepy. All right. Next, we are going to do lesson 40. We're going to do a little bit of geometry here. Don't be scared. We're going to talk about triangles. Okay. So if I were to draw a square, ooh, wait, I've got a better idea. Watch this. Wait for it. Wait for it. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? So I drew a square. Now I'm going to just draw a line right down the diagonal here. Boom. Okay. So what are the measures of these angles here? So what's this angle measure here? What's a right angle? That's a rectangle, right? A right angle. What's the measurement of the right angle? How many degrees is that?
90.
90 degrees. That's right. So there's 90 over there. There's 90 over there. And there's 90 in these corners, right? But look what we did. We cut them in half. Well, what's half of 90?
45.
45. So we got 45, 45, 90. Okay. So now these are both 45s as well. Now, if you add these all up, add them up, you get 90 plus 45 plus 45. That will equal 180. Well, guess what? Every time you add up angles in a triangle, you will always get 180 degrees. Isn't that crazy? No matter what triangle you're talking about, even if it's something that looks like this. See this crazy obtuse triangle here? Like if this was 120 degrees, maybe this was 30, or maybe that was like, oh, what is it? Like maybe 20 degrees here, 20 degrees there. These will all, this adds up to 182, 120 plus 20. No, it doesn't. What are you doing? Let's say that was 30. So if those are 30-degree angles, then this all adds up to 182. 120 plus 30 is 180. Okay? So it doesn't matter what triangle it is, all the angles always add up to 180. Okay? So you can always find the missing angle in a triangle because you know that they all add up to 180. So let's try an example, see if you can figure out the missing angle in this triangle. Okay, let's say that this is a triangle. And this is a right triangle, so we know what that measurement is. And let's say that this is 30 degrees. Okay, well, what is this? What degree is that? See if you can figure that out. So do it on your paper. If you get an answer right away, don't shout it out loud. Let's wait until other people get a chance to answer that. See if you can figure out that third angle.
We have 5 hands up.
All right, good job. All right, so let's dive into that. So if you got it, shout it out.
60 degrees.
60, that's what I got too, because look, if this is 90, if this is a right angle, then that's 90 degrees. So let's see, both of those add up to 120 degrees. So what's left out of 180 is 60. So if you need to write out your subtraction, that's fine. So that equals 60. Good job. So does that make sense? This is a really easy way to figure out the third angle in a triangle because they all have to add up to 180. Okay. All right. Let's talk about a couple new terms here. I'm going to draw a little diagram here. I'm just going to intersect two lines. Okay. So when you intersect two lines, that forms four angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Okay. So when you intersect two lines, it always forms four angles. And you usually, so intersecting lines, I'm going to just write this out. Intersecting lines form four angles. And those angles are two acute and two obtuse most of the time. Okay. And sometimes if you have intersecting lines that look like this, then you're going to say or four right angles. Okay. So either you're going to have two acute angles like 1 and 3 and two obtuse angles like 2 and 4, or you're going to have four right angles like in this diagram, this little diagram here. Okay. All right. So now let me give you some terms. So these two guys are what we call adjacent angles. When you think of adjacent, like my adjacent neighbor is the guy right next door. Okay, he's my next door neighbor. So adjacent means like next door neighbor. So these are adjacent angles. And technically we share the property line. So we in our backyard, we have a fence in between our yards. Okay, so we share a line. Okay, so see how these angles share this line here. That ray actually, okay? So angles 1 and 2 are adjacent angles. Also, angles 1 and 4 are adjacent angles, right? Because they are next door neighbors and they share a ray, they share a fence. These are also adjacent angles, okay? So when you intersect two lines, these adjacent angles are always what we call supplementary, okay? So when two angles add to 180 degrees, then they are supplementary. Okay, so adjacent angles, these adjacent angles are adding up to 180. So remember 180 is when you open up all the way to a straight line or a straight angle, okay? When it opens up all the way open and the sides lie flat like that, that is a straight angle. So when two angles add up to that, those are supplementary angles, okay? So we could say that angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary, right? What other angles are supplementary? Can you guys shout it out? What other angles are supplementary?
3 and 4.
Did you say 1 and 4?
3 and 4.
3 and 4 are also supplementary. What about 1 and 4? Yeah, 1 and 4 are supplementary too. Okay, 2 and 3 are supplementary. 3 and 4, do we have any other supplementary pairs? 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 4 and 1. I think that's about it, right? Okay, well, what do you know about angles 1 and 2 or 1 and 3? What can you tell me about angles 1 and 3?
What can you say?
What do they look like?
Circle.
Well, I circled them, but look, 1 and 3, they look like the same angle, don't they? They look like the same measurement. So these are what we call vertical angles. Okay? They basically are the same, they have the same vertex and they go in opposite directions. Okay? So vertical angles are formed when you intersect lines. So we can also say that 2 and 4 are also vertical angles. Okay? Well, guess what? Vertical angles are always congruent. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. So this is the symbol for congruent. And then also angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because they're vertical angles. So vertical angles are always congruent. Okay, so that brings us to this fun puzzle, which is next. Now, if you don't remember all the terms, that's okay. I just want you to try to figure out, let's fill in the blanks here. So I'm going to draw a little diagram here. Okay, so the only thing I'm going to give you is this angle right here. And I want you to figure out what X is, what Y is, and what Z is. See if you can do that. Okay, take some time. When you get your answer, you don't have to raise your hand. I'm just going to let you try to figure out what X, Y, and Z are. So you don't have to remember what supplementary angles are or what vertical angles are or adjacent angles are. You could probably just use your gut to figure out what X, Y, and Z are. All right, take about 30 more seconds. You can do it. Okay, so in our triangle, this is all stuff we learned just in this chapter. So we can figure out with all the stuff that we learned in this chapter, we can figure out what X, Y, and Z are. First thing we learned was that all the angles have to add up to 180, right? So far we've got 140 degrees between this angle and this angle, 90 and 50. We got 140 degrees. So X has to be 180 minus 140. So 50 plus 90 is 140. So what's 180 minus 140?
40.
So X equals 40 degrees. All right, so if X equals 40 degrees, let's see if we can figure out what Y is. Do you see what Y is? These have to add up to 180 degrees. So what's 40 from that? Well, Y has to be 180 minus X, right? Well, X is 40, so 180 minus 40 is 140 degrees. And it kind of looks like a 140 degree angle, right? It opens up pretty far. It's really obtuse. And then Z, this is nice because Z, let me change the color on that. So Z is a vertical angle. So angle Z is congruent to angle X. So we already know what X is. It's 40. So measure of angle Z equals 40. Okay, that makes sense, right? You can also figure out that Z is 40 because it's supplementary with Y. And remember, Y is 140 and Y and Z have to add up to 80 or 180, right? So 140 plus another 40 equals 180. So there's multiple ways you can get your answer. And if I picked another letter here, let's shout this out. What would this be? What would W be? Shout it out.
What? Quick. 140.
140, that's right. Good job. So see how there's only two measurements. There's two obtuse and there's two acutes. If you figure out one of the acute angles, you know the other one. If you figure out one of the obtuse, you know the other one because they're vertical angles. All right, very good. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have. So you've got a lot of time in this class period to work on your homework. So why don't you guys do that? We're going to do the same deal. So if you do 10 or more problems, let Mrs. Powell know, and she will let me know, and I will give you Flack Attack coupons for every 10 that you do, okay? Yes, Kiara?
Did you is this the same thing like, did you get the ones that Miss Coleman counted? Or is that gonna be like at the end of the year?
So, sorry, what was that?
Mrs. Felmley, do they get the same deal from her too?
Like, did you receive the counting that? Like,
Yeah,
you gave
yeah,
her?
so she let me know how many problems you did, and I gave you Flack Attack coupons. So I give you a point for every 10 problems you do. Okay, so do that again today, and Mrs. Powell will let me know how many problems you do, and you can cash in those coupons. So for every 5 Flack Attacks you have, you get a free problem set. So try to get as much done as you can today, and if you have questions, you can message me. If you have questions, you can ask each other. You can work together as long as you're not Dylan and Elijah, who are throwing things around in the back already. Wow, that's impressive. So, and Mrs. Powell can answer some questions too if you need some help. Yeah, and if you guys want to do test corrections, make sure you schedule a Zoom meeting with me, and we can go over your corrections together, and you can get half credit back up to 15 points. Okay? You guys feel all right? Okay.
Thumbs up everywhere.
Good. All right. So have fun. Get a bunch done. You guys are going to be awesome. Okay. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Black man, give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Black